where are you joining us from. It's 1 p.m. West African time, and I'm glad to have you on the call with us alongside my team. Today, we would be talking about AWS DevOps for startups, best practices, and tools. While we know some of you are familiar with our operations on the webinar calls, we would love to introduce the housekeeping flow for those who will be joining us for the first time. It's important to mention that this session is being recorded and bits of it will be uploaded on our social media channels. We do this in respect to your privacy, and we don't intend to flood that part. Also, it's important I mention that you can raise your hands, you can ask questions during this presentation. Please feel free to use the Q&A session. There's just a Q&A chat box somewhere on your screen. Drop your questions there. We would attend to them during the presentation or after the presentation during the Q&A sessions. We encourage you to please ask questions as much as you can, and our team would also do well to attend to them. One good thing about today's webinar is that as long as you stay through with us till the end of the webinar, you would be opportune to register your interest to talk with our sales consultant on a free basis. You would click on the link, schedule sessions with them, and ask questions and see how we can help you further outside this webinar. Also, would encourage you to please
All right. I think we lost Victor for a bit. So I would just want to take it up from where Victor stopped while he gets his network back. So thank you so much for joining today's webinar. So a bit about Secure Intelligence Limited. We are solution builders, and we apply technology to drive effectiveness, agility, and growth for businesses. So what we do is we take your idea from whatever point it is, and we make sure that we bring it to life, and we bring all of our expertise to your idea and make it come to life. So we are positioned to help enterprise to scale globally. At the end of this webinar or during the webinar, you will have the opportunity to book one-on-one consultation with our consultant in order for us to know what your business needs and so on and so forth. And during the webinar also, you have a chance to ask questions, and we are going to give you answers to all of your questions. So at this point, I'm going to call on our presenter, Emmanuel, who is going to take us through the webinar today. Emmanuel, please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, Emeka. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your warm invites.
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Okoye. I am a cloud engineer here at CIL. And today we are going to be learning about AWS DevOps for startups, best practices and tools. So this is how we are going to be moving. This is how we are going to be progressing. We look at the objective of today's presentation, understanding DevOps, the AWS services for DevOps, best practices, and then we're going to have a hands-on demonstration. So for the objective is to provide a comprehensive understanding of how startups can effectively utilize Amazon Web Services in implementing DevOps practices. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so let's understand the concept of DevOps. DevOps is a combination of practices. DevOps is a combination of practices and tools that increases a business ability to deliver applications and services at a high rate. Right? So basically, DevOps is a combination of tools. It's not just one tool alone, right? It's a culture on its own that ensures improving products at a faster pace than organizations using traditional software development and infrastructure management process. This enables organizations to better serve their customers and compete more effectively in the market. So look at the benefits of DevOps startups. The first being accelerated development and deployment. So with DevOps, we have something called continuous integration and continuous delivery, which automates the building, testing, and deployment of code changes. It reduces the time it takes to release new features and fixes, allowing startups to respond more quickly to market demands and opportunities. Secondly, we have cost efficiency and resource optimization. So DevOps can help reduce costs by automating repetitive tasks and streamlining workflows. This allows startups to free up resources and focus on strategic initiatives. Right. So with AWS, you have the opportunity to make use of serverless services that would help you to optimize cost to a great extent. For example, using a resource like Lambda functions that only runs when you invoke it, it's not something that runs continuously like an EC2 instance. It will help you to save costs to a great extent. So finally, we are going to talk of improved collaboration and communication. So startups often have small teams handling multiple responsibilities. With DevOps, we can foster communication and collaboration between these teams, leading to improved efficiency and better outcomes. Right. So we have tools to do this. So you can use Slack for communication. You can use Jira for tree tracking. You can also use something like Git for version control. Right. These tools facilitates communication, information sharing, and real-time collaboration among members. And with this, members of the team can have a holistic view of the project that is being worked on, and they can contribute to it. Next slide, please. So we are going to see some of the AWS services we can use for DevOps. So first is code commits, right? So if you've heard of GitHub or if you have interacted with GitHub before, this is basically the same thing as code commits. Right? Just that GitHub is owned by Microsoft and it's private or public depending on how you want it. Or then therefore code commit is private, right? Is usually private. Right? So code commit is basically a secure and scalable source control service that enables us to host private Git repositories to allow teams to collaborate on code in a secure and highly available environment. Secondly, we have code build. So code build is a fully managed build service that compiles source code, tests, and produces software packages. The good thing about these different AWS services is that they integrate well with each other. Right? We can have one connect to the other and have a chain like that in order to build solution we want. Then we have CodeDeploy, which is used to automate code deployment to any instance, including EC2 instances, on-premise servers, and even Lambda functions. It also helps in deploying applications in a consistent and repeatable manner. Then finally, we have, not finally, the other services, so we're just going to restrict our conversation for. We have CodePipeline, which is used. Please, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Manuel.
Okay. Sorry, chat. So we have CodePipeline, which is a fully managed continuous integration and continuous delivery service that automates the build, tests, and deployment phases of our release process. Right. So now, if so far, if what I have said sounds like something that you are interested in as a business owner, at CIL we can help you set up these services using AWS best practices, ensuring high security, high availability. We do anything related to AWS. We can even help you on your workloads in other cloud service providers like Azure, GCP, and reach out to our sales development representatives for more information. In fact, there's a link shared now in the chat for you to book a one-on-one call with our team, and you can get an extensive understanding of the services we provide and how we can help your business scale seamlessly. We also have experienced development teams that has knowledgeable that are quite knowledgeable in building digital products, and we can help build your solutions basically, right? Which results to high quality and well executed business solutions. So should you decide to partner with us, you would have access to expert advice and guidance throughout the development process, leading to more informed decisions. So you should seriously consider working with us. Next slide, please. Look at the best practices. So the first is continuous integration and continuous delivery. This is one of the major building blocks of DevOps because it helps us to save a lot of time, right? Basically, CI/CD is the practice of integrating code changes from multiple developers into a single repository and automatically building, testing, and deploying these code changes. It helps to ensure that the code changes are merged and deployed quickly and reliably. Right. So once we go to the demonstration, the demo now, we are going to see how this works out, and hopefully we will appreciate the beauty of CI/CD. So we have infrastructure as code as the second one. So basically, if you want to deploy your resources on the AWS cloud, you can do it in two ways. Basically, first, you can do it manually by going to the console to click and create your resources, or you can do it by provisioning your resources as code. So you basically write your resources as code, and it's being provisioned for you. It makes it easy to automate infrastructure provisioning and management, and it ensures consistency and reproducibility of the infrastructure. So the AWS service we can use here, the native AWS service we can use here is CloudFormation, but the other one is Terraform, which is quite popular. And we have monitoring and logging. So this is really essential for troubleshooting issues in your application, because when you start building solutions on the cloud, having errors is inevitable. You can't avoid it, right? And you would want to know the source of the errors. You want to know how to troubleshoot it. This is where monitoring and logging comes in. And the service we can use here is CloudWatch. It can help us to monitor our infrastructure and debug when necessary. And finally, we have security and compliance. So it's very, very good to be security conscious, because if security is compromised, every other thing is compromised. So it's just good to apply AWS best security practices, use AWS identity and access management for fine-grained access control, and implement encryption when necessary. So I would also like to reiterate and say that AWS has something called the well-architected framework that helps you to build secure, high-performing, resilient, and efficient infrastructure for a variety of workloads and applications. And these applications are built around operational excellence, security, reliability, cost optimization. At CIL, we can help you review your architecture and ensure it is following the well-architected framework. This is another perk of working with us. Yeah, so next slide. Yeah, okay, so now we are going to have a demo. Let me share my screen.
Okay, so while Emmanuel is trying to share his screen, if you have any question, you can please put it in the Q&A. Any question as it relates to what we are currently talking about. And also, you would start seeing a link in the Q&A where you can click and book a consultation with our consultant, where you can get all your questions answered one-on-one. And we know that there are questions that cannot be asked right on the call on this webinar. So on that consultation call, you can ask any kind of questions you want to ask as it pertains to your business and its needs and how we can help you. So while Emmanuel is trying to get his network back, okay, thank you so much, Delali. Sorry if I did not get your name pronounced well. We'll surely look into switching, following your observation, as you said. Okay. All right. Emmanuel, are you back? If you're trying to raise your hands, we may not be able to get that, or you can type your question in the Q&A and we'll be able to pick up your question and answer it. Emmanuel, are you back?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay, so you can share your screen now. Okay, you're welcome, Delali. If there are questions, please, the Q&A is there for you to ask your question, and I'm so sure Emmanuel would be able to give you the best answer. And if you want to book a one-on-one with us, you can also please click on the link that has been sent in the in-call. Please share the link again for those that are just joining, so you can use the link in the in-call in the Q&A section. Thank you so much. Okay, so Emmanuel, you can
Please confirm
continue.
if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So we are going to have a demonstration now. So for the demonstration, we are going to we are going to have a sample CI/CD pipeline for a simple web application, right? So to host our web app, we are going to use Amazon S3, right? So Amazon S3 is basically for storing media files of all kinds, but in addition to that, we can use it to host our static website. So I'm going to create a bucket now. Just give it a name and check this, because we want it to be publicly accessible over the internet, and we confirm that we know what we are doing here, and create. I'm just going to search for the buckets. You can give it any name, but it has to be globally unique. So if you are following, make sure you use a name that is unique. So I'm going to upload the web files that we're going to use it's basically these are the files, the index.html and styles.css file. It's just a simple web application. So I'm going to add the files and upload. So by default, it's not configured to be is not enabled to be a static website. We have to enable it to come under properties, and under static website hosting, we come to edit and enable it. Specify the index documents and the documents. So once we do that and go under properties again, there's a link for you to, there's a URL you can use to access the website. But once you do that, we have an error, right? Because we still have to attach a policy to it to confirm it as a public bucket, right? So I'm coming to edit bucket policy, and for this, I'm going to AWS. Just want to quickly generate a policy for that bucket. It's going to be for S3 allow. Then for the principal, I'm going to put a star. It's a wildcard that signifies that anybody can access it, right? And the action is going to be get object. Get object. So this is it. I copy the ARN from here and then put a slash and star to make the objects public, basically. Then add statements. And I'll paste it here. And you can still hear me, right? Can you still hear me?
Emmanuel, can hear you.
Okay. So once we have done that, we come back here and refresh, and now we can see the website properly. So this is the website. Just says I love tech and AWS, but say for some reason our customers, they're like, we don't want it to just show I love tech and AWS. We want it to be like I love maybe tech, AWS, and CIL, secure intelligence. So we'd have to go through the pain of editing it here, editing it in the code. Say CIL. But it's not automatically updated here, right? So we would have to re-upload those files again. We'd have to re-upload them. So once we have done that, we now refresh and we see it here. But there's a better way of doing it using CI/CD, and that is what we are going to be doing now. So we are going to be using CodePipeline to create a pipeline that is going to help us to merge changes from the source, which is going to be a code commit repository, to our S3 bucket. So I'm going to create a pipeline here. Create pipeline, name it whatever. Next. So this is the source provider. That is the repository you are going to connect. You are connecting this pipeline. So we are going to use AWS code commit, but you see you have other options here you can choose from. So I've already created a code commit repository before now, and I named it this. And for the branch, we use the default main branch. Since we are not doing any testing here, we're just going to skip the build stage, and we are deploying to S3, right? Then the bucket is here, manual C DevOps. Click on extract file before deploy and next. So we just confirm that this is what we want and click on create. So while that is creating, let me go to code commit. So the pipeline has been created. So if I come to code commit, this is the repository for this for our project. And this is the index file. So say we just have I love tech and AWS. Say again, our customers say they don't like this, they want something else. We can edit this from here. And let's say I love whatever. I love Nigeria, something like that. I don't know. And that so once we commit the changes now. The pipeline is now going to run. The pipeline is going to run. And when we come here, we see that the changes has been automatically deployed. So we did not have to go through the stress of re-uploading the code. We just change what we want. We just change we just make whatever change we want, and then the pipeline we created for this project, which is this, is going to automatically take it from the source, which is code commits, and deploy it to the Amazon S3 bucket. That's why we see that here it's reflected. So that's all we have for today, a very short and simple demonstration about CI/CD. So you can send in your questions and I will try my best to answer. Thank you. What level of service support do you offer for DevOps teams that are fairly new to AWS DevOps and structure? So, okay, we basically come down to your level, right? So if, hello, can you hear me?
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I can hear you.
Okay. So I saw a question here. I want to answer that. So at any level, we can help you structure your solutions and help you implement them. Right. We also engage in training of your workforce. So right, maybe you have workers and you would like for them to learn these skills. We engage in training people, like training enterprises, businesses of all levels with these skills. So we can, any level at all, from beginner, intermediate, even professional, we engage in trainings.
Okay. Is there any other question? So, like, I just answered that question by also sending in the consultation link. There's another question, Emmanuel. Let me try to project it.
Yeah.
This question says, why did you have to add a bucket policy to the S3 bucket after you uncheck the public access button to make the bucket public?
Okay, so yeah. So when you uncheck block public access, when you uncheck that setting on an S3 bucket, it allows for the potential exposure of your bucket, right, and its contents to the public internet. So unchecking that does not automatically make the bucket publicly accessible. To make it publicly accessible, you have to add a policy that allows that allows the objects within that bucket to be public. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but I think are you having some kind of background?
It's not from my end.
Sorry, you're having background noise. Okay, you can continue, Manuel.
Yeah, so I said that that's when you uncheck that block public access setting on an S3 bucket, it allows for the potential exposure of your bucket. It does not automatically make it public, right? For it to be publicly available or accessible, you have to attach a policy to it. So if I would have loved to share my screen, but I can just explain. So if you just uncheck that block public access setting, basically AWS will tell you that the objects within the bucket can be public, but it is not yet public. It is now when you attach that policy to the bucket, it will now become publicly accessible. So that's how it works. So you have to do both of them for it to be publicly accessible.
Okay, thank you so much. There's another one that says, what are the advantages of using bucket policy over ACL?
Sorry?
What are the advantages of using bucket policy over ACL?
So the both of them have their own control and their own advantages, right? So you can use some of the advantages, like for using bucket policy over ACL, is that, so first off, you can control the extent to which someone has permission to your buckets, right? For example, you can say that you are just going to have access to some to certain objects within that bucket, but not the entire thing. You can basically, with bucket policies, you can have fine-grained permissions, right? Specifying get object, put object, delete object, like that. But for ACL, I've not really used network ACL like that, so I don't know about that. Right? But one advantage of using bucket policy is that you can really get granular with the settings you enable. You can say, okay, I don't want anybody to be able to get objects for me. I just want somebody to be able to put objects or delete objects, depending on your use case.
Okay, thank you so much. I think those that are asking the question are already getting, I understand now. Another question is, if there are 3 commits on the same file, how many times pipeline will trigger and which change in the file will be effective? How many times will the pipeline trigger and which change in the file will be effective? Okay.
If there are 3 commits on the same file, how many times will the pipeline, how many times pipeline will trigger which? So it is going to be triggered 3 times, right? It's going to be triggered 3 times, and the change that will be effective is the most recent change you did, right? So let's say, first of all, the first time I changed it from A to B, then the second time from B to C, then the third time from C to D. It's going to change 3 times, but then the change that is going to be we are going to see will be the latest one, which is D. Is D we are going to see there. Did you get that? Hello.
Yes, Emmanuel, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I hope I've answered that. So I see another question.
Yes, there's another question here from Said. So it says, we are deploying instances on both AWS and Azure for the solutions we are building. The reasons are strategic and linked mostly to resource availability from the management level. What are your thoughts technically?
Okay, going multi-cloud actually makes sense, right? Deploying both, many companies actually do this, right? They don't just rely on one cloud service provider. You can use multi-cloud using AWS and Azure to ensure high availability of your resources and your applications, right? Because I know AWS is very secure. They ensure they want the design their infrastructure in such a way that you can make your own design highly available. But then it's also good to build multi-cloud, right? So leveraging different cloud service providers is something that is actually wise in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe that's clear enough to Said. Looking through, I'm not sure there is any question we have missed. Thank you very much for such an enlightening session. Let me just take one up. Let me take one more minute to ask if there are questions. Do we still have questions? Here, someone is still trying to type, so we just attend to that. Okay, so no question for now. Emmanuel, I want you to speak to the question Dilali asked earlier on. What are the advantages of using bucket policy over ACL? Can you just speak about it? I know you answered it earlier on. I just want you to reiterate on the technicality um, on that matter. Can you do that briefly?
So I said that with I've not really used ACLs, right? Because bucket policies normally give me what I want. So, but with bucket policies, you can have granular control. Like you can really have specific conditions that you want, right? Like the IP addresses you want to be able to access your bucket, the type of action you want people to be able to perform with your bucket. But this level of granularity, this level of control is not available with ACLs, right? But with bucket policy, you can define fine-grained permissions like get object. Like the one I did for the demo was that I just want people to be able to get objects, right? So our users will just be able to have access to our website. They will not be able to add anything, will not be able to delete anything, right? So that is the advantage of bucket policies over network ACL. With network ACL, you will not be able to have that kind of permissions or controls.
All right, that's fine and fair enough. Thank you very much for running through that. Just like we've mentioned on the call earlier on, please feel free to leverage on the consultation link that has been shared during the course of this presentation. We have we have a team who would be ready to engage you on today's subject and perhaps any subject that has bugged your mind around the AWS services, and we'll see how to forge ahead on that call. We would answer questions on that call and shed more light shed more light on how we can establish relationships further. One question from Ahmed Tijani and we'll round up. How do you set up CI/CD through GitHub Actions? How do you set up CI/CD through GitHub Actions to any of the CI/CD services offered by AWS, especially when deploying a Nest.js backend? Emmanuel, do you want to take a look at that question?
GitHub Actions on its own is a CI/CD tool, right? So there's no point of combining CI/CD and AWS CI/CD on its own. Basically, they do the same thing. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So GitHub Actions is used for CI/CD, and it's one option you have to do CI/CD. And the ones we just looked at now, code commits, code deploy, code pipeline, they are also tools you can use to do CI/CD. Right. So setting up GitHub Actions with another CI/CD, I don't see how it makes sense. Or I don't think, maybe I'm not understanding the question very well, but that is how I understand it.
I agree with you, Emmanuel. So they are the same tools, and they literally carry out the same function. So I mean, however, we could have a session on that vehicle while you speak with us, and we would help you. We would understand your question properly. Perhaps there is a case study you are pointing out to, and then we would help you navigate through the use case you have on your table. Thank you very much for being part of today's webinar. We are glad you've engaged us, having listened to Emmanuel's presentation. Emmanuel, thank you very much for providing those resources on today's webinar. And for everyone who has joined us from different parts of the world today, we say thank you very much. Till we come your way again, connect with us on our socials and be sure to enjoy valuable resources that you would find very relevant in your today's world. That will be all on today's webinar. See you some other time. Bye for now.
All right. So before we just end the call, there's a question that somebody just posted a minute ago. What if I want to deploy from my GitHub main repo to AWS EC2 whenever I push to the repo? Right. So Emmanuel, if you can just do justice and let this
that is actually possible, right? You can connect, instead of did AWS code commit as the source repository, you can connect your GitHub account to AWS, so that anytime you make a change on the branch you want on GitHub, the change is automatically reflected, like the pipeline is triggered. So that's actually possible, and you can deploy to EC2. You can code deploy.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe that Onimise, as already perfectly understand what that is. If you don't, you can still book a consultation so we better understand what you're trying to deploy. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for coming for the webinar. We hope to see you in our next webinar, possibly very soon. Thank you so much. You'll be getting email communication from us from time to time. Please follow us on our socials, and do well to enjoy the rest of your day.